Hello and welcome to Tête-à-Tête, France 24's flagship interview program. Our guest today is Dmytro Kuleba. He's Ukraine's foreign minister and he joins us from Kyiv. Thank you very much.
Good to be with you.
Mr. Minister, the war between Israel and Hamas is attracting a lot of Western attention. Is it bad news for Ukraine? Because obviously the US, the West are paying more attention to the Middle East than to what is happening in your country.
Well, every new war is a bad news, not only for Ukraine, who itself suffers from the war, but also for the entire world. And we strongly sympathize the people of Israel and the people of Palestine. We understand that this conflict gains a lot of attention in the media, but at the same time, politically, our partners, they are confident that this war, politically and in terms of attention and political investment, should not overshadow what is happening in Ukraine, because both of these conflicts, they have a huge impact on not only on the countries involved, but also on the regions and on the entire world.
Right. Ukraine has strongly backed Israel. Is this maybe also a problem? Because we know that already many countries in the so-called global south are sitting on the fence between Russia and Ukraine. And many of them are saying, well, the West is backing Ukraine, it is backing Israel, but it shows little empathy to the Palestinians.
Well, it's a distorted assessment of Ukraine's position. Ukraine did side by Israel in the first hours after the attack of Hamas on Israeli civilians and Israeli peaceful cities, and we have been very clear in that. And it's hard to find reasonable countries in the world, including in the global south, who were not appalled with the scale and the ruthlessness of this attack by Hamas on Israel. At the same time, in our official statements, and also here in a conversation with you, I reiterate the call to all sides, both in Israel and in Palestine, to respect civilian population, to avoid casualties among civilian population, and to respect the status of critical civilian infrastructure. We know what war is better than anyone else, and we are not interested in the continuing the spillover of the conflict in the Middle East. We wish peace to both states. We respect two-state solution for Israel and Palestine.
Mr. Minister, what is Russia's role in this war in the Middle East? President Zelensky accused Russia of supporting Hamas without giving a lot of evidence. Do you see any traces of direct Russian support for Hamas?
Well, we heard messages coming from Moscow in support of Hamas. We see that Russia benefits from this conflict in the Middle East because it casts a shadow in the media on its own aggression against Ukraine. We have some intelligence data specifying that Russia was making moves, certain moves just ahead of the attack by Hamas against Israel. So,
what moves, Mr. Minister? I mean, it's political support is one thing. What specific moves are you talking about? It seems that it's more than political support.
Well, we saw stepped up functioning of Russian propagandist outlet Sputnik in the Arabic language just on the eve of attack. We saw a movement of Russian satellites closer to the future zone of conflict. These are very specific things, and most importantly, it's not even about very specific support provided in material to Hamas. It's about changing the whole narrative. It's an attempt of Russia to change the whole narrative about conflicts in Ukraine, launched against Russian aggression, about Russian aggression against Ukraine. And politically, Russia does benefit from the war in the Middle East.
We know that President Zelensky wanted to travel to Israel, that there are reports that this was refused by the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Is this true, or is this still under discussion?
President Zelensky was the first world leader to express his readiness to travel to Israel. At that time, Israel was not receiving any guests at all. In the days following the expression of our readiness to pay a visit, foreign ministers of various countries arrived in Israel. And then now we see a lineup of foreign leaders visiting Israel. So no, the offer was not rejected. Israel did ask to hold this visit at a later stage. And because, as I said, at that moment when we indicated our readiness to come, Israel was not receiving any guests at all. This was in the very, very first days of the attack by Hamas.
Right. You talked about the problem for Ukraine to see Western attention, media attention shifting towards the Middle East. There is also the issue, which is more serious, obviously, of support. We've seen in the U.S. Congress that it is not so solid anymore. Yes, President Biden vowed to continue, but the clock is ticking, especially if Donald Trump returns to the White House. He's made it very clear that Ukraine will not be his priority if he is reelected.
Well, I would like to make 2 points here. First, what happens in the Middle East, the war in the Middle East and the Russian aggression against Ukraine are two theaters of the same global standoff. And these are not separated events. And this is how they are seen also in the United States. And second, I saw the recent poll, 65% of the Americans believe that supporting Ukraine meets US strategic national interests. And I believe that US legislators will follow the opinion of their voters. There will be voices, dissenting voices expressing different views. There will be discussions in the United States because the campaign is coming. But the crucial element is that in both parties, Democratic and Republican, in both chambers of the Congress, in the House and in the Senate, there is, and most importantly, among the people of America, there is an understanding of the importance of Ukraine's fight against Russian aggression, for the interests of the world and also for the interests of the United States.
Right. But in addition to what's happening in the Middle East, there is what's happening on the ground. It seems militarily there's a standstill. Nothing is really moving. And so obviously in the West, people want Ukraine to make progress quickly, but that's not happening. So is it a problem for you?
Well, compared to very unfortunate and devastating developments in the Middle East, yes, it may seem from the headlines that things are not moving in Ukraine, but they are. Our forces continue to advance in the south, retaking our territory occupied by Russia, and support continues. The recent delivery of long-awaited ATACMS, long-range missiles from the United States to Ukraine, it basically defeats the argument of those who say that the support of Ukraine is vanishing.
Right. Speaking of those long-range missiles, we know Ukraine insisted for months to get those ATACMS missiles. The U.S. delivered only a few of them, I understand, in a secret way, maybe to surprise the Russian military. Is it a game changer for you? Are you hoping to get enough of those missiles to be really effective on the ground?
We are deeply grateful to the people of America and the Biden administration for making this decision, as much as we are grateful to the government of France and President Macron, who provided Ukraine with French Scalp missiles. But when it comes to game changers, the only game changer in this war is the Ukrainian infantrymen fighting and moving forward and liberating his territory. Our job is to make sure that this infantryman has all the weapons he needs to move forward and to liberate our country. And that's exactly what we are doing and where we are achieving tangible results.
Last question, Mr. Kuleba, because we're running out of time. For the first time since the onset of the war, an EU leader shook hands with Vladimir Putin. It was this week in China, and his name is Viktor Orban, Hungary's Prime Minister. What is your reaction to this handshake and the meaning it has?
I hope he at least washed his hands and sanitized them after doing the handshake with Putin.
Dmytro Kuleba, I want to thank you very much for appearing here on France 24 from Kyiv, and thank you all for watching this program on France 24.